and talk from there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. Welcome to Jills of All Trades. I'm Cinnamon with countrycraftswoods.com.
And I am Dirtpatcheaven, and that's with one H. I don't remember. Am I supposed to say something else? I don't have my script in front of me this time.
Yeah, it's all you.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead then. So today we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a taste of what our podcasts are like. They are mildly scripted, not like actually formatted or anything, but we do have kind of a checklist of things that we like to talk about each time that we feel brings a little bit of variety and also a little bit of each of our own personality and what's going on in our lives. So we're going to start with a scripture. Did you want to go first, Cinnamon?
Sure. Mine is, and the script is not like, this is exactly what you're going to say. It's just basically to say like whose turn it is and stuff to talk, because I kind of interrupt a lot.
No. We both are just talkers.
Well, I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and so I sometimes would have to interrupt to be heard. And Julianne is more the patient one because she's the oldest of 7. So, you know.
Well, and we both I think we both have a pretty good backlog of interesting things to talk about. So we like being able to switch it up and make sure that we get it all in there. I go on monologues, so that's my weakness.
I like monologues. So, okay, so mine that I picked is from Proverbs 31, verse 25, and it says, "Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come." That is such a hopeful verse. I absolutely love that. My mom really likes that too, because if you think about it, when it says strength and honor are her clothing, when you have clothing, that means that it's on until you take it off. It is surrounding you, and it talks about a woman that she has strength and honor, and it says she shall rejoice in time to come. So even if it's not a time that, may seem like you could rejoice or everything's going right, the promise is here in the Bible that that she shall rejoice in time to come. So it's a very hopeful verse, and I really like it. So
I love it.
That one's mine.
Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the nice thing is sometimes we have a tendency to kind of pick something similar, because I don't know. That's it. For a second, I was going to ask you what your scripture was again, because it kind of sounded like what I was going to read. So mine is Ephesians 5:22 and 23, and it is, "Wives, understand and support your husbands in ways that show your support for Christ." And to me, that kind of means be Christ-like in your attitude towards your spouse. And then 23 is, "The husband provides leadership to his wife the way Christ does to his church, not by domineering, but by cherishing." And Cinnamon and I were just talking about John, and he had another accident at work today. And I'm thinking about how much more I cherish my husband than I do his job. And I'm grateful for scriptures that can kind of put those thoughts into words for me. And so we will go on to the rest of our, usually we have a little bit more of a script here, don't we? I'm trying to remember, do we go on to our garden next?
We do. Well, I do want to say, Monday, June 20th is when we put out 5 of our podcasts, and we put 5 of them out at once so that everybody could listen to them, kind of get a good idea about, what it's about and stuff. And, Julianne, do you want to give the disclaimer that we talked about?
Oh yeah. So when we first started out, we had like really great intentions, but we didn't really have a game plan. And so we just sat there and talked to each other for 2 hours. And we've tried to condense them down a little bit so they aren't like that. And I think only our first one was like that. But after we got going for a bit, we have kind of set things that we talk about, and it's not a monologue on my side. And so as we go along, we're getting a lot better all the time. And the last 2 that we did were the ones where I'm like, hey, I would sit back and listen to this one. We had a lot of information in there.
Yeah, the third one, I think we tried a new format, and we were kind of, I wouldn't say nervous about it, but we were like, oh, okay, so okay, so it's your turn. So you could kind of just hear one person talking at the time. Totally listen to all of them, please. We still did work. There's still very good information in all of them, but we're just saying, don't judge us by the earlier ones, but please listen to them because, there's still a lot of good topic that we covered and stuff that's in them. So,
and I think and the last two I think were the best ones. What we were talking about specifically was debt and ways to get out of debt and ways to stay out of debt and ways to kind of be a little more free in our personal lives. So they've been my two favorites because I think we were bouncing ideas back really, really well.
Yeah, and then we started talking about spouses and finding your mate and stuff. So we've actually we're going to be doing our next podcast, which we're actually going to be doing them every other week to start. And then whatever kind of support we get through Patreon, if it ends up being good and, if we reach our goal to help us, then we can go ahead and start doing them weekly. And essentially, if we do really good, if we get a lot of support, we would do them. We are willing to do them twice a week. We have so much to talk about, so I'm sure that we can we can keep it going for a long, long time.
Yeah.
But the next one we kind of wanted that we're going to be doing. We discussed that we're going to be talking about what to look for in your mate that you're choosing. Like, what should you be talking to your daughters at a very young age? And we were kind of hitting up the subject because I was talking about, well, my parents told me this and this, but I'm just like, oh, whatever, but how do you word it differently? How do you really get through to your kids and stuff? Which I don't want to start talking about it because that's what the podcast is going to be. So you're going to have to listen to hear what we talk about on that. So we definitely want to involve, yes, we want to involve, now that the podcasts are out, we want to involve everybody. So if you guys have questions, if you're like, hey, I'd like to hear a podcast about compost, or about how do you find the best, yes, like anything at all. We have an Instagram, and it is Jillsofalltrades podcast. So Jills is plural. Trades is plural. That's a really hard word to say. Right? So Jills of All Trades podcast. And you can comment on any of those pictures that are going to be on there. Do you want to tell them about the poll that we're going to go ahead and put on there?
Yeah, we like I said earlier, unfortunately, John has been hurt at work again, and I'm encouraging him to resign because he's only been back at work for 3 weeks, and he came home tonight and isn't able to walk very well again. And so he and I are praying about it a lot, trying to decide, should we just go to a smaller place somewhere that that I could manage if he continues on like this and really being disabled, or should we look into getting somebody to come full-time to help me, but then we have to have a paycheck that allows us to hire somebody full-time, and I'm not sure that we can do that. I'm not sure that I want to do that. So we kind of want to poll about, what do you guys think we should do? Should we go live in an RV for a while and then move into a tiny house? Should we stay on our farm and just, live on a bit more of a shoestring and hire somebody to come in and help us? Or do we just let all the pastures and trees die and just stay where we are, but not make any improvements on the farm? And so that would be on our Instagram. I think Cinnamon's going to put it up as a poll there, which would be fun to interact with all you guys.
Yeah, we'd like to share those results with John also. Yeah. So definitely stop by the Instagram, cast your vote on the poll. I'll have a picture that'll say something about a poll, and then you can comment on that. Also, if you guys wanted to interact with us more, So our podcast name is Jills of All Trades. And we are on iTunes. If you go on iTunes and rate us, that helps us out tremendously, because especially when a new podcast comes out, if we get good ratings, then it'll bump us up so that when people are getting on there to look for podcasts to listen to, they'll see our name if we have enough reviews. So please iTunes and review us. That would be wonderful. And then if you want to listen to us through our website, it's jillsofalltradespodcast.com. And then we are also on Facebook if you want to like our page. And we just all started this. And so we're still getting that together. But it's facebook.com/jillsofalltradespodcast. So if you wanted to put anything at all, if you guys want to tag us in any kind of hashtag on Facebook or on Instagram, you can do #JillsofAllTradesPodcast. Or just hashtag #JillsofAllTrades. That'd be fine too.
And we're really excited. It sounds like we're putting it out in all sorts of different places. And we are just really excited because for me, I love to listen to podcasts. I think they're so much fun. You know, you don't have to use your hands. You don't have to use your eyes to listen to it. You can just go about your life and yet be educated. And I always come out with something that I've learned when we do our show. So,
and I think it helps also. It helps me keep me, what's the word I'm looking for? It helps keep me, when you have somebody accountable.
Yeah.
It helps keep me accountable with, like, when we're talking with finances and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was something I was going to be working on. And, you know, oh, okay. You know, it brings it back to like the forefront of my mind. So then I start thinking about that again, or just reading scriptures, you know, having a scripture verse of the day, that helps me too. It's really hard.
I have found the same thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's nice that we come in and have these little conversations and we're just like, and how did you do this week? Well, not so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will actually, because it's hard for me to sit down and read, like find the time, I have to drive at least 30-40 minutes to work every day. So I will actually hook up the Bluetooth through my phone to my car, and I will listen to the Bible on the way to work. And then on the way home, I will listen to a podcast or the Christian radio station, or, something that's kind of makes me relax because it's the end of my work day and stuff. So, it definitely keeps accountability, and I really like that. So on the podcast, we talk about, we each pick out our own scripture, and usually it does pertain to how our week's going. We talk about what's going on in each of our gardens, and whenever Julianne is talking about hers, I usually will have a question or two. And then just like now that we're reaching out and that people can come, we'll be able to have more questions, and have your question answered, which would be a lot more useful than just trying to look it up in Google and trying to find it, which article do I tap on? So
yeah, exactly.
And I have my own organizing and cleaning business. So my area is more towards organizing tips and that kind of stuff. So if you guys have any questions about those, I'd love to answer them. So we have that, we talk about our gardens, and then we usually have about one or two subjects that we talk about. And then at the end, we usually will ask each other a question that will pertain to that person's field of expertise and stuff. So,
or something personal. I think last week, didn't I ask you, when did you know you wanted to marry Derek?
Yes.
I think that was, and I think it surprised you a little bit because it was more personal than I think what we've talked about before.
But
we got on a good topic after that. It was a good topic.
I absolutely agree. And I think it's funny because there are certain things that I'm just like, I actually do have a little bit of a filter when it comes to sharing personal information, but mostly I'm very open.
And same with me. Yeah.
I love it. I love sharing stuff and stories. And since we're both part of really big families and stuff, we definitely have a ton of
stories.
Yes, absolutely. So, and then, you having your girls and stuff, there's stories there too. What's the one video that you just had where the camera caught them?
Oh, when they were butchering the ducks. Is that the one?
Yes, watch that video. It is hilarious because the kids know that the camera's there, but they're so innocent and little, they don't think about it. And one of them stands on top of this cage and they're not supposed to, and they see her coming. And was it Paige who was like, get down, get down, get down.
Get down, get down, get down.
And her trying to get Kai to get off real quick, and you could tell how serious she is. Oh my gosh, mom's coming, get down, but it's totally there on camera. So it's
on
just
camera.
the most hilarious thing. Oh, I love it. I cracked up. Derek and I cracked up when we saw that. So yeah, definitely entertaining. So
yeah, it's all I don't know. There's some things we hold back again just because you don't ever want like that memory of yelling at your kid or spanking your child on camera. That's one of those things that you definitely don't leave in there. But watching those definitely has made me focus a little harder on my mothering skills, because a lot of times I'll catch myself on camera acting in a way that I think is not very Christ-like towards my kids. And I think it's helped me to focus in a little bit harder on how I really want to be treating the people around me. So it's been a good microscope into my own behavior at times, I guess. But
it's very useful.
It's very youthful.
Useful.
Useful. Yes,
it
is very useful.
Useful.
So how is your garden this week?
Actually, after we finish this meeting and talking about the podcast, I have to go out there because my mom's 60th birthday was this past weekend, and she has a God-given gift of making cakes and everything. And so usually we don't have a birthday party for her because she's like, no, let's just go eat at, there's this Mexican restaurant that she loves to eat at. And if you bring your ID and you eat on your birthday, you get $8 off your meal. So
that's nice.
So yeah, it is. So she always likes to go out to eat. So we never have like a party for her. So my sister's like, it's her 60th birthday. Let's have a party for her. So I made that cake for her and I had to plan it. And it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I might put a picture on Instagram of it. And then you can see it took me about 6 hours, like just to do the decorating, but you'll see why. But that was all day Saturday. I've been working all during the week. I, been trying to get this podcast together, like all the social media set up and everything like that. So I have totally neglected my garden. I've been watering it every night, but, there's even been a night that I forgot. So then I had to get up in the morning and water it in the morning and stuff. But the weeds are just, I drive by and I'm like, oh, look at all that green. It's great. And then I walk up to it and I'm like, oh, 90% of it's all weeds. So I have a lot, and I'm not going to pull them because of our one podcast that we talked about. And you said about just clipping them and laying them down because it blocks it. It like acts as a mulch, and then other weeds don't want to, grow in a mulchy area and stuff, and it weakens the weed too. So I loved that podcast. That was very useful for me, using the tips that you've given me and stuff. So what about you? You've had a woofer, right?
We've had our woofer here for the last, I think, 4 days now, and it's been amazing. A lot of the heavy labor that needed to happen has been done. I think she feels kind of bad because I always stop working at 10 a.m. We get up really, really early, and then we work until 10 a.m. when the sun starts to get a little bit warm. And I feel bad because I know she came to work harder than this, but at the same time, maybe it's a good thing because she'll see it. The object is not to be working all day and sweating all day. The object is to have your systems in order well enough that you're not straining your body, and it's creating systems rather than something that you think, well, if I have a garden, I have to go out there and weed every 5 minutes in order to say that I have a good garden, which is what my grandma used to do. She never had any kind of weeds in her garden. And I never saw a weed in her garden, but she also used Roundup. And so for me, gardening is kind of a philosophy of do what feeds your family and fits well into your schedule, and which is why we do the permaculture. And so rather than having her out there working in the hot sun, we have her come inside and we teach her how to spin, or we've done other things together that are more like, look, we still have time for family when we do it this way. So.
Yeah. And, farming is really, really, really hard work. So I think it's also teaching her skills, like not just the hard work, all day long, but being able to incorporate skills that you would need if all the if something were to happen and you would have to make your own clothes and that kind of stuff. Like those are very, very, very valuable trades that are definitely being they're going down, like in the number of people who know how to do it. But I feel this way probably because I feel this way. You'll know what I mean when I say what I'm going to say. But I feel like some people are starting to wake up and seeing that, hey, it's not all about technology and this and that. It's about trades that I'm going to actually use. And, I need to know this stuff in case something happens. So I feel like since I've had that revelation, maybe other people might be having that revelation, so.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and a lot of people, I think where we had the scare, what was it, 2007, 2008 with the recession and everything, I think people don't maybe feel as confident about the economy now as they did before that.
Even
and we're all kind of just
however they say it is. Yeah,
however they say it is, that it's more, I think people are trying really hard to kind of have their bases covered, not necessarily to live in fear, but kind of to have their bases covered a little bit better than we did 8 years ago.
Right. And there was on You Had Me on Braid Girls. I think that was the first video where no, it might have been the second one because you did it on a live one. But You Had Me on Braid Girls. So then I talked about, organizing. We talked about the podcast and stuff. I can't remember the last name, but it was Julianne something. She left a comment about us having a podcast talking about, there are certain foods and stuff like you set aside for as a prepper, but what skills would you suggest, to help you prepare for those kind of situations and stuff. So just because she left that comment, so our wheels are spinning. It was recent, so we'll definitely have a podcast about that, so definitely leave comments and we will see them. It helps us too because I think Julianne,
we run out of ideas.
Well, I think that we can talk about anything. So if you just point us in a direction, we can definitely
just go with it.
Yep, absolutely. So
well, I think you're right. I think it's, and that's why I really like the live shows that we've done recently, is that people can chime in. But with the podcast, I think it's a little bit nicer because you're not really stressed for time. You can just kind of sit and go into it as deep as you want to. So yeah, I like that kind of question. So when let's see. So I'll ask you my question. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. So my question is, if you could change anything about your property, like if the sky was the limit and you could just change anything on your property and put any amount of money into it, what would you change about your home and the 3 acres that you're on? What would you change about it?
I know a lot of people would probably say they wanted a bigger house and that kind of stuff, but from a cleaner's point of view, bigger house means more time cleaning. And I'm really good with closet space and trying to find a way to figure out all the ways to fit everything. So what I would actually change is I would paint the outside of the house. I would do the whole landscape. What else would I do?
What kind of landscaping? What specifically, what kind of landscaping would you do?
Oh my goodness. I would want flowers like for all seasons to, we have like our front door. I would want a porch. Oh man, I want a porch. We when you go out our front door, we have some, cement steps that go down, but I've always wanted a porch. And I know this sounds weird, but I have a phobia with swings. Like I literally, and Derek's my witness, if we have a swing set at a playground, like we've sat on it before and he'll start rocking. I'm like, oh, no, don't move. Like
I'm exactly the same way. Is that funny? I cannot be airborne on a swing.
And that's the thing too, like on a porch swing, like I've sat on a porch swing with somebody else, like my friend Jessica when we were in college, and she started to swing and I'm just like, I'm not enjoying this at all. Like I feel like it's in, even though it probably wouldn't hurt if we fell down, I can't, I don't know. I get all worked up and stuff. So, but if I was on the porch swing, I'm not joking, by myself and I wasn't rocking, if I was just sitting on it and reading, I'd be okay.
I love hammocks for that because they can't really swing that much. So I love the Mayan hammocks that kind of hold you in. And
that would be wonderful to have a hammock, like a porch, because I would love to somehow be outside with it raining. That is my favorite thing. I love warm rain, like when it's summer and it's raining. And I hate just looking out the window and seeing it. Like I want to be in it, but not in it. You know what I mean? So
experience it.
A porch would definitely be mine. So
I love that.
So I'm going to ask you real quick. I'm actually going to direct your question that you asked me last podcast. When did you know that Derek was the one only for you? When did you know that John was the one?
He had pink socks on our first real date. And I thought it takes a man with some intense confidence to go on a first date and show and like have his pants lift up a little bit and see that he had pink socks because he washed a red shirt with white socks and that he didn't care.
Oh, that is so funny.
Isn't that funny? It was so bizarre, but I looked at him and I'm just like, yep, you're my kind of guy.
You know what that tells me? That tells me that he needs a wife. And I have to say, like, the funny story about that is that I was dating Derek and I came over to visit or whatever, and he had to leave for work. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll just stay around here and clean up. And he's like, okay, but don't do anything. And I'm like, okay. And so I actually took all of his clothes from everywhere in the house that he had it. And I threw it all downstairs in the basement because that's where his washer and dryer was. And I put it all in piles. And his dad had come over to visit or like to stop in. And he's like at the top of the stairs and he's kind of leaned down and he looks at me and he looks over at all the laundry. And like, I was dating him maybe a month or two. And looks at me and he smiles and he goes, he really needs a wife. And I smiled I smiled and I go, I know.
You know,
and I wasn't intimidated by that. You know, usually some people, like when they're dating, they'd be like, you know, but I'm like, I know.
Yeah, it does. I think that is hilarious because John, he kept his laundry in a freezer box in his bedroom when we were dating. Like he kept like this huge 6-foot long freezer box in his bedroom, and he had a mountain of t-shirts in his freezer room that he had off the side. And so when we got married, I was like, I want to respect his space, but there's not really room for me in this house. So when we got married, I actually lived in like all my stuff was in a different bedroom, like the bedroom next to our bedroom, because I was like, I didn't know how to like be, honey, you're a slob. Can I help you with this? I mean, it was okay because I was a real slob in the kitchen. I always had a dirty kitchen when I was single, but I was really good about doing laundry. And he was, I don't know. Isn't it funny, those stories when you first get together and you try to balance things?
Yes, it is. So I don't want to, I'm going to go ahead and end us right now because I want to save some of it for the podcast. We got to let you guys know that this is how much fun we have. We swap stories. We kind of tell on our husbands and, you know, all that other good stuff. So check us out. You know, we're going to be doing it, like I said, every other week. If you guys can show any kind of support, we really do appreciate it. And we'll be around more often. We'll do weekly shows. We'll do whatever questions you guys might have. So definitely check us out. And you know what? This was really done on the fly. And we usually have like an going out saying. So I'm going to jump on the limb here. This is so embarrassing joke to tell, but it's really funny. So, all right.
Go for it.
All right. So Julie, how does it go? Hold on. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
You'd think it's the R, but really it's the C.
Oh, that's a good one. That's so corny.
Someone told me that and I'm like, that is great. I gotta tell everyone. And then the first time I went to go repeat it, I'm like, I can't do it.
Right?
My face is actually getting really red right now. So
That's awesome. I love corny jokes.
Well, thank you.
I'm bad at jokes, so I can't tell one back. So we'll
Well,
have to
no, that's okay. But you have to, maybe if John didn't hear that, then you're going to have to tell him that.
I know, I'll
one.
have to
tell me
him
how
that
it goes.
And he's going to look at me like, really? That's what he always says when he's like, really?
Right.
It's so funny. No, I think that's perfect. And I don't remember. Are we both supposed to say our saying or just one of us?
We usually will take turns.
Okay.
So
Then I guess we're good.
I got this one, but you're going to have to do the next podcast one, I guess. So.
Okay. It's a deal.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Have a good one.
We'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.